Good day, everybody. Hey, great piece today by my friend Dan Waldschmidt. You should follow him at danwaldschmidt.com, and he's on Twitter. He's great. He does some awesome stuff, and I wanted to share with you something that he did recently that's really great. 11 obvious mistakes you're making to get rich. So getting rich isn't everything, but if it's your goal right now, there are rules to making it happen. More importantly, there are silly mistakes that you need to avoid making. Even then, it's not going to happen overnight. Well, it might if you have that winning lottery ticket, but if you're like the other 99.9999% of us, you have to work for every penny you deposit. Let's face it, you want lots of pennies. But getting rich isn't as simple as click here now. If it were, everyone would be rich. But these are obvious mistakes you can't afford to make. Number one, you're not frugal enough. Overspending is no fun at the end of the month when you're looking over your budget, and overspending can lead to boredom. And just like dieting, when you deprive yourself of something you've always had, you end up caving and binging. Sure, when you're on a diet, you end up with a stomachache, chocolate chip lips, and a small case of self-loathing. But when it's money, you're binge shopping. That can lead to so many other problems. Go back to the good old slush fund days and give yourself a fun budget. That way you can still do the things that you love within reason and you don't go crazy. One of the things I've always been is very frugal. Even today, I'm super frugal on certain things. And some things I spend money on. I love great food and stuff. But, I mean, overall, for the kind of income I make, I'm very, very frugal because money's not easy to make. It really isn't. You got to work hard. You got to sacrifice. You got to do a lot of things. So you don't want to have to put yourself in a position where you work really, really hard, and at the end of the day you have no money. I mean, I worked my tail off for years and years, and I was very conscious of the fact that I did not want to end up where I needed to, continue working when I was older because I didn't save my money because I wasn't frugal, because I was a spendthrift. I mean, I was really careful about that. In fact, when I started doing very well, it took me about 5 years. After 5 years, I was financially independent, and I've never had to work for money after that 5-year period. The first 5 years, I still worked, but I had enough money that I'd saved and invested that I could actually live off the income that it generated, and that's the place that you want to get to. I believe me, and it's so much better than being in debt. Debt is your enemy. It just is. It's from a financial standpoint, debt is death, okay, financially. Number two, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We've all done it. We need the newest and finest toys and tools regardless of cost and interest rate. But why? Because we need what everyone else has. We need that status. We need people to think we're cool. Thinking like that will lead you straight to the poorhouse. Sure, it's nice to have a phone that's up to date, but if it still works and performs all the necessary functions, there's no need to upgrade every single time a new version comes out. Be different than the Joneses. Keep your treasure to yourself and don't flash it. Number three, you're not invested. When it comes to investing, you should definitely not put off today what you think you can do tomorrow. Smart investing means investing now. Here's a couple of examples. Starting at age 20, in an ideal world, this is just an example, it's hypothetical, you should be saving and investing $3,000 per year. But in the realistic world we live in, you're probably already a year or 10 behind. So if you haven't started yet, now's the time. For example, if you invested $300 per month starting at age 20 and don't stop until you're 60 and manage an 8% overall return during that time, you would have more than $1 million in that account alone. If you waited until you're 30, that's 10 years, to get started, you would have only $440,000 in your account. Those first 10 years you missed out on would cost you more than $550,000 in returns, even though you only skip paying $36,000. So that's a pretty graphic example. Get started now. Don't procrastinate when it comes to saving and investing for your future, especially for retirement. Or if you're young and you have young children, start saving for that now, or you'll be regretting it later. Number four, you're not saving. If you're not saving, you're definitely not getting any closer to being rich. You're standing in the way of your own wealth. The key to being financially secure is spending less than you make. I know it sounds simple, but that's really the key. Put the leftovers in an account and repeat that month after month. Start small, increase over time. Save 5% of your income, then 10%, then 20%, or even more. So on until you start seeing savings. Save for the house, save for the car, save for the college expense, the rainy day. Just save. Become a saver. Number 5, you're not budgeting. Budgeting can be hard, especially when you're living paycheck to paycheck, but it's necessity, especially when you're living paycheck to paycheck. If you sit down and write out where every single penny is going, including the ones at the coffee shop, you'll get a better grasp on what items are necessities and which items are luxuries. If you know where the money should be going, you will be able to better get it in the right place at the right time with money left over for points 3 and 4. Number 6, you're using credit as a crutch. Having credit is like living a dream. Find it, love it, swipe it, pay later. But paying the interest later is a nightmare. Add up all the interest you see, and you see how much you could have in your savings instead of giving it to the credit card company. If you can't buy it outright, you probably don't need it. Points are great, so are frequent flyer miles, and actually they're a really good idea if you can pay off your balance monthly with no interest. But if you can't, you should really start trying to stand on your own. Credit card free 2 feet. Number 7, you're spoiling your kids. Even if you have $1 million in the bank, there's no need to hand your children everything they ask for every time they ask. That will turn you into their credit crunch. Teach them to work for what they want and teach them to save what they have. This is especially important if you're reading this well into your 20s. Remember, the more they save and the earlier they do, the more money they will have later in life. Teach your kids the importance of doing what you started later in life. Save, invest, plan, and keep your money in your own pockets. They will thank you later. You know, one of the things I did with my kids, it was one of the best things I did with my kids, is when they were really young, we hired them to do work, like clean the office and do clerical work and do different things. And because we made them employees in our company, we were able to, all the money that we paid them, we put that in their IRA accounts. And when they became adults, now that grew into a significant amount of money, and they're in their way. They're not going to have any problem in retirement because they started when they were literally when they were like probably 7 or 8 years old. They started having IRAs, and it turned into a significant amount of money. And it's going to, by the time that they actually retire, right, that money is going to be they can retire in it literally. They're going to be able to do that. So number 8, you're letting fees get the best of you. Whether you have the money or not, don't. Paying fees of convenience or late fees will eventually catch up to you, and that little ding in the windshield will crack and come crashing in on you. 8% here, $4 there, those numbers add up over the year. So stop paying them. Plan your spending so you aren't caught in the middle of a trip to Las Vegas spending $10 on ATM fees to get the money you budgeted into your vacation out of the bank. Make sure your bills are paid on time. Set reminders so you can avoid penalties and fees. Number 9, you're saving but not earning. It's not enough to get to the point of saving and investing that magic number for success. You have to always be pushing towards more success. Make a pact with yourself to increase your income each year by 2, 5, 10%. You pick. You just make sure you're going into every day with the mindset that you make more money today than you did yesterday and more money this year than last. And then find a way to make it happen. If that means taking a second job, like making art or selling it or turning that hobby into a side hustle, find a way. One of the things when I started my business, I started part-time, and I was part-time for about a year. And I had about $6,000 in credit card debt, and I made an extra $18,000 that first year I started my business part-time, and I paid off all my credit cards, and I was able to save about $10,000. So one of the things that's important to realize that, like, you need to look at yourself like you're a corporation. If you're looking at a company and you want to invest in that company, what you want to look at is what are their net profits after paying all their expenses, paying their employees and whatever costs they have. The net is what companies are valued on, right? It's not the gross, it's the net. So you need to look at your own personal situation. Whatever you save at the end of the year, that's the net of your business. That's the net. Because if you spend every dollar, you have no net. You didn't make a profit. The money that you are able to save every year is the actual profit of the work you did for that year. That's what you actually made. The rest was all going to expenses. You don't have that money. The creditors have it and whatever. The food that you bought, all the different things. But the money that you were able to save is the true amount of what your income was for the year. That's how you judge a company, and you should be judging yourself the same way. That's what I've always done. Is I look at what I've saved at the end of the year. I know that's what I actually made. The rest is gone. I don't have that money anymore. Taxes, expenses, etc. So that's the true test of what you've made. So what did you save this last year? Well, that's what you made. Number 10, you marry without talking about it. What's it? Money. Love is great, so are weddings, but if you're in the mindset to save and your future partner is a spendster, you will always be making more money and your partner will always be spending more money. When it comes to long-term relationships and happy marriages, you have to talk about finances. You have to make sure the person you love and plan on spending the rest of your life with is on the same page as you. The number one cause of divorce is financial stress, financial issues, folks. This is something that's super critical to have a happy family, happy relationship. If they aren't, you either have some tough decisions and conversations ahead of you, or maybe you should keep waiting in that dating pool a little while longer. And lastly, number 11, you sacrifice value for saving. Yes, you should save. Yes, you shouldn't splurge on meaningless things. But if you've worked hard and you're ready to play hard, you needn't go cheap just for the sake of saving a few dollars. The most important thing you should consider when you're going to spend money, and you are, is the quality of your purchase. Spending money to better yourself is not a waste. Spending money on a workshop, on an audio program, on something, a book that's going to help you improve your financial situation and get out of a financial rut is not a waste. That's an investment. Spending an extra $100 on a pair of running shoes that will last you 10 times longer than the cheaper pair is not a waste. So spend on value because you really do get what you pay for.